Hey family, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jason Johnson and this is Thrivify Catalyst Connection. Is Thrivify Catalyst Connection. So question, have you ever heard of squatter rights?
Nah, I don't have no idea.
Well, I didn't know anything about it until recently. Like most of us, we were introduced to this through our social media accounts. For me, it was TikTok. My timeline became flooded with landlords and property owners trying to evict people who were squatting on their property. Then I ran to the comments to see what people thought about it. They kept repeating things like, why do squatters have rights? Or, this is illegal? Why is it legal? So in thinking about this more and more, I wanted to do some digging, and this is what I found. So squatter rights is basically the legal concept where someone who occupies land or property without permission can eventually take claim to ownership if they meet certain requirements. This process is called adverse possession, and it's a legal principle that ownership of property can be claimed by openly, continuously, and exclusively occupying a specific property, often ranging a span of 15 years or more. This period can vary depending on the jurisdiction and specific circumstances. The person must also meet other requirements set by local laws, such as paying property taxes and maintaining the property. So basic things that you would normally do if you were actually in ownership of the property or land. Now, who can claim squatter rights?
You have failed me for the last time.
Well, anyone who meets the requirements, regardless of their background or financial situation, can claim squatter rights. But this does not apply for those who previously rented and refused to leave or pay after lease termination. You can find more information about taking a look at local eviction laws in your particular state. So squatters don't have to really be in a certain circumstances in order to acquire these squatting rights. So just think about it this way. You build a fence to establish boundaries around your property, but you establish a fence without finding out first your property boundary lines. You breach some parts of your neighbor's property, but nothing is said for a long time. Eventually, if you wanted that part, you could actually take legal ownership of it. Now, in no way am I encouraging anybody to do that, but hopefully you get the picture. And the more that I dived into that, I realized the real reasons for squatter rights to exist in the first place. So why do they exist? Well, the idea is to balance the rights of property owners with the needs of people who may not have access to affordable housing. Homelessness is the result of a combination of factors, like cuts in welfare programs and a lack of affordable housing are the leading factors which push people from their homes or lack thereof. Cuts in public assistance mean less money to pay rent. Low minimum wage is crazy low, and unbudging wage compensation is just ridiculous nowadays. Unemployment, high housing, and healthcare costs all play into poverty. Being unable to afford essentials like food, education, health care, insurance puts people and their family's life at risk. So when you think about the several factors that contribute to squatter rights, look at economic equality, and the lack of affordable housing is at an all-time high. The rising cost of housing in many cities have made it difficult for low-income people to find affordable housing, leading some to resort to squatting as a means of shelter. Increased awareness of people moving from the country and population growth in cities, towns, and have really put pressure on housing markets, making it difficult for some people to find stable housing options. Government policies and restrictions have created limited access to affordable housing options. There have been social movements and public efforts aimed at recognizing and affording the needs of squatters, leading to the development of squatter rights in some jurisdictions. Squatting movement is a social movement that seeks to use unoccupied land or temporarily or permanently abandoned buildings as a farmland, housing, meeting places, or centers for social and cultural purposes. Its main motivation is to criticize and respond to economic hardships that they believe exist to realize the right to housing. Legal proceedings and court rulings have established rights for squatters, recognizing their occupancy of properties in certain circumstances. The idea of squatting goes back to medieval England and its common law. The King's Court would routinely rule in favor of people who occupied a property without permission, providing the owner did not take action against them within a certain period of time, which actually meant that squatters back then would have one overnight to build their own territory on someone else's land ownership of that territory. The 19th and 20th century brought an increase of squatter rights awareness due to urbanization and industrialization. Migrating to cities and property settlements increased dramatically from that point. And now the 21st century has the highest property taxes and rental accommodation in recent history, pushing many to explore the option of squatter rights. So what are the pros and cons for squatter rights? Well, you have on one hand, squatter rights can provide a way for people who are struggling financially to have a place to live. As a person that have children, somewhere decent to live is very important. Gives everyone a sense of security, safety, and stability, not only for you, but for your loved ones. It also allows for better opportunity for education and healthcare. If you want your children to get into a nice school, it would depend on where you live. If you want great health services, not only do you need specific health insurance, but you also need to be in a certain living district. Squatter rights can create a sense of community among other squatters, awareness with other community members, and help utilize otherwise unused, not owned land or property. Such unused land or unowned property can have a negative impact on property value. Property that remains unused can lead to its foundation becoming molded, filled with rust, and stability of the surrounding area becoming an eyesore, which can lower property values for nearby residents. Plus, unused land or unowned property can bring in more criminal activity and vandalism. That leads to more decreasing property values and negatively impacting the overall community. Squatter settlements can also contribute to the increase in the economy through informal businesses and services. So, how can that be done? Well, it creates opportunities for entrepreneurship and small businesses to thrive. In these settlements, residents often start their own businesses to provide goods and services to the community, which can lead to economic growth and job creation. Plus, informal businesses in squatting settlements can cater to the needs of the local community in which ways that a lot of formal businesses can't or will not cater to, thus contributing to the overall well-being and vibes of the community. Now, let's talk about the cons of squatter rights.
A few moments later.
Well, potential violations of property rights, such as not taking care of the property, seedy systems of certain organizations exploiting law in squatter settlements, and changing in regulating and managing informal settlements. Additionally, and probably the worst reason of all, is squatter settlements may lead to conflict with legal property owners and issues with land ownership and development, trespassing on private property, unauthorized occupancies of land or property, damages, arguments of ownership, verbal abuse, and potential physical violence. I mean, it's bad nowadays with people who are referred to as scammer squatters taking possession of land, property that is already legally owned. If they like it, they take it, and thus try to invoke squatter rights. Scammer squatters will try to take any property. It doesn't matter if you live in it or you are trying to renovate it to have someone else move in it. Scammer squatters has the potential to take possession of the property and just squat there. A lot of them, once they do this, don't take care of the property at all. Totally trashing the property without accountability whatsoever. Others come in and change locks, video cameras, window frames to try to keep ownership out. They literally make a house a home that's legally not theirs, but just someone else's. It's unfair to see property owners who have invested in their land or buildings that have the right to decide who can use it be bullied out of their property. So where they now have to legally file an eviction lawsuit in court.
God, please, no! 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 No!
The process may vary depending on the jurisdiction, but generally property owners really first have to give notice to the squatters and then go through the eviction process outlined by local laws. It's outrageous to me that they would have to evict a scammer squatter through the courts legally as if they were their tenant. So they get a court order imposing eviction towards the squatter. Property owners can seek assistance from law enforcement, police, or sheriff's department to help remove squatters from their property. This may involve requesting that law enforcement officers accompany them to the property to ensure a safe and legal eviction process. But in some cases, they may need to obtain a court order to show proof of property ownership to legally remove squatters by law enforcement. All this just to make sure that property owners do not get into legal trouble or issues with squatters who legally have no right to be there. It's crazy to me, but unfortunately, it has to be done. So let's check out some short videos by Squatter Squad, Catch Up News, and Reporter Studio to kind of give you a glimpse of what I mean. Links to the original videos will be posted to the description of the podcast.
Are you on the lease? Yeah. You're on the lease? Show me you're on the lease. Show me you're on the lease. You know you're not on the lease.
Okay, the owner's guys are gonna spend a little time in there.
Okay.
This woman was trying to get inside her own home, but the previous owner refused to leave.
Said he wasn't leaving. That was it. Wasn't going to leave the house, barricaded himself in the house.
He moved out. A neighbor's surveillance camera captured them pulling out of the garage and driving away. Fabrics say the entire ordeal has soured them forever on what was once their dream house.
Excuse me, who lives here? Who lives here? Who lives here? Hello, everybody. Come on, smile for me. Smile for me. Smile for me. That's great, guys. Hey, what are you guys doing in here? Squatting? Did you break into the house? No. It was open. Oh, yeah. See ya.
You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
Moved in about 6 weeks ago. They changed the entire front door and lock of her home.
I don't own this.
Exactly,
yes.
She does.
Yes, but then once again, you should know how the law works.
I do know how it works.
There's rules to the as you got to go to court and send me to civil court.
And called the police on her and got her arrested for the illegal eviction.
So why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. You need to go to court.
They claimed they've been renting the property since October but failed to provide any documentation.
Odell, you're getting arrested right now?
I'm being arrested.
For what?
For being in my own home.
It's crazy, right? Well, am I for squatters' rights? Or am I totally against it? Well, I'm for squatter rights that actually help genuine people find and possess legally unoccupied land or property. There are international agreements, federal and state laws that protect human rights to safe and sufficient housing. Squatter rights must be done correctly according to those laws. But I am totally against scammer squatters to whom they tried to occupy any land or property that is legally owned by any institution or individual consumer. It's downright dangerous and inconsiderate of them to literally try to take away something that people have taken time and effort to acquire their land and their property legally. But what about you, family? How do you feel about squatter rights? Are you for it or are you totally against it? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe for your guy. Hit the bell for notifications of videos in the future. Once again, I'm Jason Johnson, and this is Thrivify Catalyst Connection.